What's up, guys? So we're late, but we are live finally. So today's stream is just a chill stream. Um, Pucci's papaya actually got overwatered, probably because it got too cold in the tent, and that's really what caused it to feel like it got overwatered because it didn't get overwatered. I gave it the same amount of water I always give, and it definitely needed some. So we have it on the seedling heating mat, and we had the tent cracked open a bit so that the humidity kind of runs out, so it's not too humid. It's more drying than it is keeping it humid in the tent right now. Other than that, we're going to show off the progress that we've done on the side, getting the side ready. We'll finish that up on the stream. We will turn on the water and get the sprinklers running because we also have a sprinkler system to show off in the backyard now because we just built that. Um, Other than that, though, today's stream is going to be pretty chill. It is our Super Bowl stream. Go Eagles! Eagles green! Eagles green! Um, I am an Eagles fan. I'm a Los Angeles Lakers fan as well too. I'm from Cali, but Cali when I was growing up didn't have very many teams. It had San Francisco, it had the Chargers, and I think that was it. And I'm not a San Francisco fan, nor am I a Chargers fan. And the Rams weren't here yet. Oh, they also had the Oakland Raiders. So it was the Raiders. They had the 49ers, and they had the Chargers. I don't like any of them. Um, so when I was a kid, and I actually forgot, uh, like I was more of like an Eagles fan, and because I liked Kobe and I was a Lakers fan, and Kobe's from Philadelphia and he's a huge Eagles fan. I was just watching a game one day with Donovan McNabb on there. He was a black quarterback, and that's really why I was watching him. And and then Kobe pops up. I'm like, what the hell? Hey, big boy! Hey! And I'm like, what the hell, Kobe? And then my dad's like, yeah, Kobe's from Philadelphia. He's a big Eagles fan. And so from that point on, I was always an Eagles fan. One second. So, Kobe. Kobe is the real reason I'm an Eagles fan. Um, I also like Michael Vick. He played for the Eagles as well too. So sorry about just cleaning my nose, but whatever. I don't give a fuck. Um, so today's stream again will be about showing off our sprinkler system, finishing, showing off the side, and finishing the side of the yard, and then we might cut some palm trees because I actually need to do that as well too. And we'll show off why I need to actually get more sunlight into the gardening area, and so cutting these palm trees back a bit is actually going to help me with that. So we'll also show that off in the stream that if you are gardening and you're trying to get the best plants that you can get, uh, don't just focus on the garden, focus on the whole rest of your yard and see what you can do in the rest of your yard to make your garden better. So for instance, I trimmed everything up in the front, sprayed like a little pesticide, fungicide, and then fertilized it and watered it all. So all the shrubs outside, there's roses, there's different, flowering plants, a couple different like bushes that flower, like a few different bushes that flower. There's lavender, palm trees, a lot of palm trees. Obviously, the palm trees won't bring in any bees or anything like that, butterflies, stuff like that. But they will provide a place for beneficial bugs to sleep, like at night, and kind of like act as a shelter. So, for instance, like bees will definitely kind of chill in pollen, like wild bees, native bees is what they're actually known as these are bees that don't have hives. They just kind of fly around on their own and do what they want. Uh, they uh, um, they'll chill in like palms. They'll chill in like different shrubs and bushes at night when it's cold out and chill. And then when it warms back up in the day, they go back out and start pollinating again. So trimmed up the palms, sprayed some pesticides so we can get rid of any pests, fertilize the palms so that they grow in nice and green and healthy, and that'll provide cover for ladybugs, praying mantises, bees, honeybees, bumblebees, stuff like that that'll pollinate butterflies and different things like that that'll pollinate your garden and be beneficial in your garden. So there's that, and then the fertilizing of all the roses and different trees and shrubs that flower will promote more pollinators to come into your garden as well too. So that's something that you can also do, right? Is fertilize your front yard, right? Don't neglect the rest of your yard, right? Just because you're not growing food there doesn't mean that you can't do something there. Trimming stuff back promotes better growth and new growth, right? Because if I trim up all the flowers off the lavender plant and there's no more flowers, well, it's going to start producing more flowers because I just cut them all away. So it's going to reproduce all the ones that it used to have. So that'll promote more flowers. So if you want a lot of lavender and you like to smell lavender, you could cut those back every once in a while, throw them in your compost tea, and that'll act as like a pest repellent for your roots, and it will also increase your terpenes, right? Um, so you can use lavender in your compost teas. You can use lavender in your house to make your house smell nicer. If you run a bath, you could crush a bunch of lavender up into the bath, like really fine, dump it into the bath, pour some soap on it, and then get the bath nice and soapy, and you have like a nice lavender soapy smelling bath. Bath will be nice and relaxing for some of the ladies on the stream. They might like something like that. Um, so there's one way you can focus on your garden while actually not having to work on your garden. So let's say hypothetically, you're all caught up to date in your garden. There's not any new project yet. You gotta kind of wait till like planting or something like that. What I would say is what to do is to start focusing again on the other parts of your yard and seeing what you can do there, your side yards. For instance, like in my side yard, I have a grapefruit tree. Today or tomorrow, I'm gonna pick all the grapefruit off of the grapefruit tree and then trim it back away from the house a little bit. We're starting to get flowers right now. That's going to promote more flowers, which will also help bring in pollinators. It's a big giant grapefruit tree, so they'll be able to sleep in there, hover, like shelter in there overnight. But it will smell, right? It will throw out those citrus flowers that smell really, really nice and smell really pretty. Those will go for miles on end. So that'll attract pollinators into the garden really nice and early in the year because it's February right now. As you start to roll into March coming soon in like 2 weeks, things will start to kind of really warm up. You'll start to see a significant warm up in the months of March and April. Things will really start to kind of get to spring. And then once we're in April, we're officially in spring at that point. And so once we're in spring, everything in the garden basically will be blooming. Everything will really start to grow, start growing again. And then, yeah, from there, sorry, I have two jackets on, so it's making me look a little more chubby than I actually am. So I got a jacket, and then I got a t-shirt, and then I got my chub. I'm actually really not that chubby, which is funny. It's just because I'm always wearing so many layers, and this has like a pocket, so that makes this look more puffed out right on my gut. So it makes me look all fat, which is kind of funny, but I'm not. I'm in actually decent shape for the most part. I don't work out, but I don't really have to at this point. I've worked out most of my life, so I normally am just naturally kind of in shape now at this point. But yeah, just walk around your yard, give your yard a little gander, a little yonder, check everything out, make sure everything's growing right, everything's pruned correctly to your liking. There's an adequate amount of sunlight getting to everything, right? Things aren't too clustered. Everything's nice and clean. You could spray, even though it's during wintertime, you can definitely spray your plants for pest and disease and pest and disease control, because honestly, that's the best time to do that. That in winter is when you see a lot of the pests and diseases because it's cold and wet out start popping up in your plants. So I would say getting a leg up on your pesticide fungicide regimen should start really in mid-February, which is what we're in right now. Now, if you're on the East Coast, it's probably snowed out still. Depends. I don't know. With global warming, I haven't been over to the East Coast in almost 10 years or so, something like that. I think it's been like almost 10 years since I've been to New York. So, um, I would say for sure, that if it's snowing still, you don't need to do it. If it's not snowing, who's coming up the street like that? So, um, this is some kids. Um, but yeah, if it's snowing, I just chill. Once it starts to thaw back and you really start to get some exposure to these plants, and there's no risk of snow, right? Or rain, really, because you don't want it to just wash away right away. You kind of want it to at least sit there for half a week or a week at best. Really, you should aim for a week, but let's say if it's, you're on the East Coast, it's really rainy out still, this is early spring, you know, that makes sense. You might get 3, 4 days in a row where you might not get any rain or dew or anything like that. It might be nice and kind of dry out for 4 or 3 days in a row. Then yeah, you could spray the day before and get like 3, 4 days of pest free, fungicide free um, living. And then once it starts snowing and it washes it all away, the next time you get your chance, you go back out there, and that'll just keep a kind of a shield on it. That also these organic pesticides that I recommend. I recommend Dr. Earth's insect killer. I recommend using cold pressed neem oil. I recommend or neem seed oil. Um, I recommend what's that? Alrighty, so um, neem neem seed oil is good. Rosemary oil, peppermint, garlic, thyme, sesame seed. These are all good organic methods of pesticide, along with copper. Like a copper fungicide is a good one to use. Um, for instance, like every single time I spray, you can also have vinegar, right? Apple cider vinegar or white vinegar is fine. Um, Baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, very little aspirin, not a lot, but a little bit of aspirin is good too, just as like a backup. That's a root agent. It also helps fight off diseases. It will help clean cuts. So let's say hypothetically, you were pruning and you made too deep of a cut on a plant. And you can spray a little hydrogen peroxide and aspirin on it, and it will clean it and heal the wound a lot faster, so that you won't get any disease problems or too much woodiness. Um, but everything I just named would be a 100% organic way of using a pesticide on your garden without hurting anything. And again, yeah, it's 100% organic. You don't really have to worry about getting sick from this type of stuff. Um, for instance, like my garden has a lot of food products in it. We grow a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, things like that. I don't want to eat things that have a bunch of chemicals sprayed on them, nor does anybody else. So definitely check out the stuff that I name. That is definitely the smartest thing to do. Um, Other than that, we'll take a couple more of these little bong ribs, and then we'll go into the backyard and finish up all the stuff that we have to show off today, which is a lot. And then we'll end the stream, and then everybody can go have a happy little Super Bowl. Sunday. Um, so got my glasses ready. This is for the freaking palm trees. So the palm tree dust will blow back in your eyes, but it's gonna look a lot more open and it'll look a lot more clear here. Um, and you know, I'm actually, and another thing I can talk about is that sprinkler system that I'm actually really excited about. So really, it's just like, so I actually bought this last summer. I forgot to, one second. Sorry guys. So the sprinkler system is something that I bought last July, and I actually didn't notice that it had two parts. So I bought it, and it just showed like it looked like honestly more of like kind of like something for like kids that they would play with, because it has like the two things that or it has like three. Um, it's like a triangle. It's like a triangle like this. At each point, there's like a prod that's sticking out. So two down here, one up here at the top, and they have on the top like three holes for the water to spray out, and it shoots around in a circle. So that's more for like kids to kind of run around and have like fun with it. The thing that I noticed recently, I looked in the bag and saw, I was like, oh wow, look, actually, there's like a little circular thing, and it has like kind of like a swirly thing, and the water hits it and it makes it spin, and it disperses the water in like a perfect 360 degree angle, and that helps with um it helps with the I guess copy link, post a link, paste, done. Yeah. But that'll help me water. I won't have to stand there and hand water everything. I can kind of just let that stick in an area for about 15 minutes and then move it to another one. And that'll kind of water everything for me. And that'll make it a lot easier. Big boy. So yeah, basically, that'll help me water. I won't have to hand water as much. I can just let that do it for me. And then we'll just hand water the raised bed with our compost teas and the pots. We'll use our compost tea in our pots. My compost tea regimen, and we'll go over this really quick, and then we'll take our bong rips and head outside because I actually have to clean the grill because we're gonna do a barbecue because it's Super Bowl. So I gotta go clean the grill. It should be clean. I just cleaned it, but it's not that big of a deal. Um, Hair's finally grown back in. It looks nice again. Um, you know, so basically, guys, we got a lot of stuff to do. A lot of stuff to do today. This humidity pack fucking sucks. But fuck it in the butt. No, you can't say that on the stream, but whatever. I said it anyway. Cancel me. I believe in cancel culture. I think if you say something fucked up enough, you should get canceled. I don't care. I said it. I think this whole thing of like everybody apologizing and then everything goes back to normal is kind of bullshit. It really depends on what you said. If you just called somebody like a bitch and then got canceled, then I'd be like, all right, whatever. But if you were screaming the N word at somebody or calling somebody like a faggot or some crazy wild shit like that, you deserve to be canceled for at least a bit, depending on what it was. Like the N word, you're gonna get canceled for good. If you call somebody a faggot, it depends on how and what context. Like if you call the gay person that and you were really hateful about it, you probably will get canceled for good. Um, but if it was just like I was just calling one of my friends that and I got in trouble, then you probably get, canceled for a couple months to a year, and you'll be able to pop back up and start making some money again. No one's gonna care that much. But this whole thing that we should get rid of cancel culture because it's toxic. It's like, well, whatever you said was toxic as well too. I mean, if you were a racist piece of shit or a homophobe or sexist or misogynistic, and the list goes on, xenophobic or whatever else it may be, then you deserve to get canceled, in my opinion. I mean, you shouldn't say that type of shit. That's just my opinion, especially to somebody else. Behind public, private doors is a little different. I think that's a little inclusive, but I do like the fact now that I know that's what you think behind private doors. But that's about it. That's about it. I mean, that's what happened to Mel Gibson. Remember when he was going crazy talking about Jewish people and stuff? Like, he got canceled. I mean, it took years. I was a little kid when Mel Gibson did that shit. The next Mel Gibson movie that I saw that was actually mainstream and talked about, I think I was in high school, late high school. And even then, they still brought it up. Like, why are we talking? Why is Mel Gibson getting a movie? Right? He's a racist, evil. He said the N word. See, talk about Jews. He went off. He went crazy. Mel Gibson's a nut for sure, straight loon. And they had him make a movie about Jesus. Hilarious. They also made Jesus white in the movie, which doesn't make any sense. The Bible describes Jesus as somebody with copper skin. Copper skin be like that. It'd be very similar, very freaking similar to my skin color. Pretty close. Copper being maybe a little sharp, a little darker. Maybe just a tad bit darker because this is worn and this has been used. But this is a good example of copper. I don't have a penny in here, but a penny would also be something of copper. It's pretty dark for a white guy. At least he is somewhat African and Middle Eastern, which is what the majority of people at the time were in Jerusalem, which is where Jesus is from, obviously, or Nazareth. Um, but still, Middle East is right next to Africa, right? Egypt is connected to the Middle East. Now it's not because they built a canal that cuts Africa off from the Middle East, but it makes traveling a lot quicker and easier. There's not a land barrier anymore, but they used to be connected. You could literally walk from Egypt into the Middle East, like right up into Israel. And so that's how people migrated, right? And so you had Africans who would come up and trade in there. You had Middle Easterns coming from farther east of Middle East, right? From Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, right? Pakistan being the farthest east you can go when you're in the Middle East, right? Then it turns into India. But again, definitely was a lot darker than they depicted him in that movie that Mel Gibson made. And they get mad too. They're like, Jesus is a white man. Jesus died of cancer. Jesus got skin cancer then. And because there's no fucking way Jesus was white. Jesus was a black guy. Most likely he was light skinned. He was probably mixed with African and Middle Eastern, like I said, because that's what most people were back then, were a mixture of Middle Eastern and African. And because those were the two dominant races at the time. The center of the world was around Jerusalem and Egypt. Egypt being the main military power. Well, actually, Rome being the main military power by then, by Jesus's time. But before then, and in like early biblical times, Egypt was the main power. Then after Egypt fell, it became Rome. And then after Rome, it was the Byzantines. And after the Byzantines, it was the Franks. And then after the Franks, it was the Germans. And, the Scandinavians had a little bit of time, but not too much time because they basically stayed in Scandinavia. They didn't really come too far down into Europe or Africa. They basically stayed in Sweden, Norway, and Finland, which is where Scandinavia is. And Denmark and Germany has a little Scandinavian in them, but the Germanic tribes are mostly German. And that's where Germans come from, is what's known as the Germanic tribes. Tribes of Germany, basically. And Egypt actually isn't even known as Egypt back in the day when they were like building pyramids and stuff like that. It was actually known as Kemet, 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 and the people there wouldn't be known as Egyptian, right? They'd be known as Kemites. Egypt, and Egyptian is actually an Arabic word. It's very Arabic. It's not has no African origination. Egypt is actually, by the time like the Greco-Romans and really the Romans were invading Egypt and taking it over, by that time they were mostly 100% Mesopotamian, or they were 100% Middle Eastern, and that were basically what they look like was like Northern Africans. They didn't really look Middle Eastern, but they look like it's basically a mixture of somebody who's Middle Eastern and somebody who would be black or Northern African. And so normally what the description of a Northern African would be is someone who kind of looks like me, right? Light skinned. He's mixed with African and Middle Eastern, or African and Greek, or African and Roman, or something like that. And at the time, that's how things worked mostly, was that like the Egyptians were one part of the Roman Empire, the Greeks were the one part of the Roman Empire, and then there were the Romans, right, who kind of controlled everybody. In this time frame, though, Northern Africans were still considered royalty. in the Roman Empire. Yeah. So you would have royal Roman North Africans, right? People living in Libya, Egypt, and other parts of North Africa that were controlled by the Romans. Actually, you'd even have Black Roman Empire emperors, right? People who were eventually at one point were next in line to become emperor, and then eventually actually did become emperor. There was a few of them. I think there's like 3 or 4 Black North African emperors of Rome, and pretty important ones, not ones that you could skip over. Um, the Battle of London, right, where the Romans fought off the Scandinavians from attacking London, and it was a Black emperor who did that and won that battle, right? And that's a pretty big battle in not only the UK's history, but in Roman Empire history. That's a big battle, right? So Black people as a whole have contributed to society a lot more than people, even some Black people, might realize. Like I said, there's Black Roman emperors. There's there's Black empires in Africa, right? Let's just forget about the Roman Empire. Let's talk about the Ethiopian Empire. The Ethiopian Empire is actually one of the longest standing empires and countries, easily the oldest country in the world. Actually, most scholars have Japan being the oldest country in the world. It's not really close because one, that doesn't make sense. Egypt would be Egypt, Nubia, and Nubia not obviously existing anymore, but at one point was. Ethiopia and Egypt still existing, though the fact that Egypt was called Kemet at one point would then disqualify it because technically now it's a different country. So the oldest country in the world really should be Ethiopia. Yeah, they just don't probably have enough documentation to put it on record that it was called Ethiopia that long ago. But I mean, we know that was what it was called. It was known as the Ethiopian Empire. They're the only country in Africa not to be colonized and enslaved. Right? That means colonization meaning they take over the country, enslavement meaning they enslave the inhabitants. That is the only country in Africa. Egypt got colonized. Sudan, meaning Nubia, got colonized. Congo, Morocco, Algeria, Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zulu Nation, KwaZulu Nation. They all got taken over, right? They all got colonized and enslaved at one point. Only country not to, the only country to fight off colonization and enslavement was the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians were a very powerful empire, right? Actually, the oldest pyramids, right? The pyramids that you see in Egypt, the oldest ones originate in Ethiopia. And actually, most scholars believe that the original Egyptians migrated and started from Ethiopia and migrated up north to what would be known as Kemet while they're in control. And once the Arabic people become in control, then that's when it starts to become more known as Egypt at some point. Basically, though, what I'm trying to say to you is, though, the original Egyptians are from Ethiopia. The last standing empire of Africa was Ethiopia. And one of the best countries today in Africa is Ethiopia. It's not the best. There's some better ones for sure. Botswana is a really rich country. Namibia is all right, right? There's a few other ones that are pretty good too as well. Well, Namibia is a desert though, so their main thing is that they have water restrictions out there. They don't really have that much water. Um, but other than that, those would be the main. Oh, and like Rwanda, those would be like the main ones that are like the best countries in Africa. Nigeria, Ghana, stuff like that. And there's other empires in Africa too that aren't just East African, right? So like Ethiopia, Nubia, and Egypt or Kemet, Egypt/Kemet are on the east side of Africa. They're by the Horn of Africa, on the east coast of Africa, right? And so for a bit, scholars thought that was the only high society of Africa. Untrue. Mali had empires. West Africa had many empires. Libya, being in North Africa, is also well known for having its empire. Tripoli, being one of the most known cities in Roman and um, uh, Greek history. Right, Tripoli is a very important city in the world. world. And it's sad today that the Libyan government really honestly doesn't recognize itself as a more important government of the world. They should hold themselves to a higher standard. Libyans are very one should be very rich people in culture, but not also in culture, but in reality they should be rich. The Libyan and they were very rich before all this like terrorism started happening in the middle in a lot of the Muslim world. And Libya is, even though it's a North African country, it is a very much Muslim African country, along with most of Sahara Africa, meaning Mali, Nigeria. No, even though Nigeria is sub-Saharan, it's still very Muslim. Um, I mean, I can go all the way down to South Africa. There's Muslims. I mean, everywhere you go in Africa, there's Muslims. It's a very dominant religion. I think it's probably the most dominant religion in Africa is being Muslim or Christian. Those are the two dominant religions. And, most people think Christian, they think of white people. Christianity actually originated in Africa and the Middle East. That's where where it really originates, right? The Jews were enslaved in Africa, right? The Judaic Christian God being the same God. Jewish people were enslaved in Africa, right, by the Egyptians, and that's really where like kind of the start of the Bible all starts up. It's like the enslavement of the Jews, right? And actually, there's also even more proof that like Jewish people actually originate from Africa. Like their base actually originates in Africa, and particularly West Africa. There's actually a map in the Congress, the Congress Library of Congress, that shows an old map that has a picture here of the west coast of Africa, and shows all the different, at the time, would have been countries. So they had the Ivory Coast, you had the Slave Coast, and in between those two was known as the Kingdom of Judah. Or like the Kingdom of Judah is very much talked about in the Bible, and it's believed nowadays that it's not real, never existed. It was just more talked about but there is a map that says the Kingdom of Judah, which is supposedly does not exist, is in West Africa, which makes a lot of sense because at one point they were saying Atlantis didn't exist, and now everybody thinks Atlantis does exist and that it was in North Africa, and that's why we couldn't find it because we were looking in the wrong places. Well, probably the same thing goes for the Kingdom of Judah and many other lost kingdoms, is that you're just looking in the wrong place. Now, for instance, the labyrinth of Egypt, right? The labyrinth, the Matterhorn. If you've ever paid attention to Greek mythology, they never built a labyrinth. The labyrinth that they're talking about actually takes place and originates in Egypt. The Egyptians built the labyrinth. They had the Matterhorn, even though he's not real. That's where that whole thing came from, was the Egyptians. It didn't come from the Greeks. And actually, a lot of the lore of the Greeks doesn't come from them at all. It actually comes from the Egyptians. That's where they got a lot of their culture, or was from the Egyptians. They learned a lot from the North Africans. And it goes back farther than Plato. It goes back to Plato's cousins who visited Atlantis and talked about how technologically advanced these Atlanteans were for their time. Obviously, the city of Atlantis crashed and was destroyed due to an earthquake or a volcanic eruption or something along those lines. They did find the ruins in North Africa. I mean, it's not like cities. It just shows rings. It shows the fact that there were water in like 3 or 7 rings, how Atlantis is built. It's on Joe Rogan's thing. If you look up Joe Rogan Atlantis, you'll get a ton of information on it. It's one of the good things Joe Rogan does talk about and isn't very biased on. He does give Africans a lot of credit for where they are due. And talks about the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians. I'd love to get on there at some point and talk about the ancient Ethiopians more with him. I think that would interest him too. I think he would like. Big boy. I think he'd like them too, right? They were actually the people who originally started building the pyramids. They're smaller in Ethiopia, but that's the first sign of pyramids in Africa is in Ethiopia. And so most scholars, like I said, believe that the original Egyptians originated in Ethiopia and moved their way up through Ethiopia, through South Sudan, creating Nubia in the process, and then settling in Egypt and building Egypt, which at the time would have been known as Kemet, which is pretty cool. Well, And so this is obviously a smoker's podcast, a stoner's podcast. That's why I'm kind of talking about this type of stuff, this trippier stuff, this history, right? Right? Because this is what I kind of pay attention to as a stoner. This is I like my mind getting blown, right? So I watch a lot of history stuff. I like a lot of stuff like that. So the reason why I talk about this type of stuff and talk about ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, is because it's really interesting, right? There's a lot of, for instance, like up until very recently, we could not rebuild the pyramids, and we're not actually even sure nowadays that we could. It might just cost us millions and millions of dollars, and then we scrap the project because it's just too hard. Hard. We just don't have the technology to do it quite yet, right? And so, what does that mean? It means that the blocks that they used to build the pyramids were so big, so heavy, cut so precisely that it almost seems as if like a more advanced civilization than us did it. And that's probably the case. If you look at, there's actually a few theories on why that's the case. If you look up the Richard Dreyfuss theory, is that the Earth got pelted around this time that they built the pyramids and stuff. Like they had finished building the pyramids and stuff, and the Earth got pelted by a ton of asteroids, which hit the ice belt and melted most of the ice, and that's what they think ended the ice age. Was the fact that we got hit by more meteors again, and so basically what I'm trying to say to you is that the original people who built the pyramids are definitely dead, for sure, obviously because of time, but two, because of the Richard Dreyfuss theory, most likely, is that they got wiped out due to the meteorites. And that's the real reason why we don't know how to build pyramids nowadays and why they don't think they could rebuild them is because we have a lot of lost technology. And that doesn't just, stop there with like the Egyptians. We can go to even a closer empire that's a lot closer in memory as the Roman Empire. The Romans had technology that we don't have anymore. There's this thing known as super concrete, which is like our concrete today, but even better. There's a reason why the Colosseums, pyramids, and a lot of other ancient structures are still standing today is because they actually used a stronger concrete back then, and we can't figure out exactly how to make it, right? Like we can look at the structures and see them, but we can't figure out the molecular compounds to making super concrete, this concrete that lasts forever, right? Our concrete tends to kind of break under pressures of earthquakes and things like that, and so do theirs, but it takes a lot longer, right? The Colosseum is huge and is still standing pretty well. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is standing very well. And yeah. Same thing with like the pyramids. The pyramids still, even though they've got very much degraded, mostly due to the fact of them being robbed, right? People taking the pieces like the granite, breaking pieces of granite off of it taking the gold out of it, grave robbing Egypt. So it looks a lot different. It doesn't look as, beautiful as it did 220, 6,000 years ago when they were building the thing, because they actually think a lot of these structures are older than what they actually originally dated them as. Who the fuck that was? Alrighty, let's get outside, take our last bong rips out there, and then we'll finish up our live stream and stuff. So we gotta clean the barbecue because it is dirty actually still. And there's a shit ton of soot and dust, and you don't want that kicking up. But we'll take our final bone ribs. We'll clean the grill. We'll go to the side. I let my dad get the. Can you? You, baby! You better run! You better run! Look at this dude. Look at this. This is Buddy, and this is Big Boy. What's up? What's up? What's up? You an ugly boy. You an ugly boy. This Big Boy, he an ugly boy. He ugly. You ugly. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Look at. Come here. You're okay. I'm not gonna put you in the pool. You being a baby. Come here. Look. Big Boy, look. Here, yeah. You're a baby. You're a baby. Don't hurt that, buddy. Don't attack me either. Look at him. Look at him. You bite him. You bite him. You bite him. It's okay. You were the boy. You did a good job. You did. What this one is? Oh. Nope. Get it, man. Get it, man. You get that thing. He's right there. Oh no, it's floating away. I'll get it. You beat it. You beat it. Oh. Sorry, big boy. Do it on the roof. Man. Go get it. Looking threw the toy on the damn roof. My bad. I threw it on the roof. I messed up. I have to get that down at some point. He likes that one. Yeah. So today is Super Bowl Sunday. I think most people are watching the Super Bowl. Sorry, guys, lost connection. Alrighty, we're back. So basically, take a couple more bong rips, clean out this grill, this griddle. And then we're done. Watch out, fool. Don't touch this stuff. Fucking stomach hurts. I gotta go poop or something. I don't know what the hell's going on. Put the gloves on for the rest of this shit. These bong ribs. Get this grill clean, and then we can focus on the rest of the stream. So, actually, you see this ledge right here? all this down here, all this down there. Here, we're actually going to grow some watermelons, cantaloupe, and probably a couple, maybe like a cucumber. Probably like one cucumber, one cantaloupe, and like 3 watermelons because there's 5 ledges that we can do that on. And I actually did that the first year I was here, and we're just going to let them hang down, and they'll kind of like trellis themselves like naturally. And we'll get some watermelon, some cucumbers, and cantaloupe. That'll be lit. Cantaloupe. I don't really eat watermelon, but I will eat some cantaloupes. But other than that, we'll cut the palms down and we'll end up the stream after that, I guess, because we won't have too much to show off after that. Show off some of the stuff that we did on the side so that we can do the watermelons, cantaloupes, cucumbers, pumpkins, tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, summer squash, winter squashes, things like that that we'll be growing next year or this summer. Hopefully, sorry, I'm going to this so you can see my face. Hopefully, we get some great production out of everything, not just the weed, but all the vegetables and stuff that we'll be growing. I'm hoping that we get a great little summer harvest videos coming. You know, we can just do like some gardening stuff that'll help us get subscribers, help us get some views. Once I get to 1 million views or 1,000 subscribers, which to be honest with you, I've already hit 1,500 views, which was pretty quick. I've only been doing this for about like 2 weeks. So to get 1,500 views pretty quick wasn't bad. So I'm hoping that like if I keep up on my shorts and I keep making a lot of shorts, that I might either get to the 1,000 subscribers quick or I get to the 1 million views quick. And honestly, really just depends on like you might get a video that gets hits, and then you might get like 1 million views from your very first video. I've seen that like watching other gardening tips and tricks videos. See somebody just have like literally one video that they spent all their time making and get 1 million views from it, and now they can monetize their channel or see if their channel's up for monetization. Since I technically post cannabis sometimes, I'm probably not going to be able to monetize my channel at all, even the videos that have nothing to do with cannabis, which is kind of whack. Oop. I might be able to monetize them a bit if I age restrict the cannabis stuff, which is normally what I do anyway. So we'll have to see, but really we're doing this to advertise my caregiver's license, and we're really trying to get people to check out my cannabis company. So since I'm a grower, I do grow cannabis legally in California. It is legal to sell here if you have the proper licensing and permits. Which I do. So if you live in the Ventura County area or any of the surrounding areas and you want to buy cannabis from me, you can hit me up. There are a few conditions. You do need to have a medical card, and then we have to figure out a way to get you on my medical list. If you're in the county, that'll be easy. If you're outside of the county, that'll be a little bit hard, but we will try to figure out a way to do that at I might get another license in Los Angeles so I can kind of sell out there too, and use a separate address for that. Because I definitely can. And that would have helped me. You baby, you big old baby, big old baby dog. Crazy mutt, give me this mutt. Here, you crazy dude. Give me it. I'm gonna take that from you. That's not yours. Wait, this is mine. Dude, this is mine. You know, you know, you know. Crazy dog biting the shit out of me. Uh, but yes, um, you can hit me up to buy from me. It is legal. I have a license. It's on my Instagram if you want to check it out. Check it out. I suggest you do. Damn, it's shit on my ass. And then other than that, that's about it, man. We can just get on with the stream from that point on. But definitely hit me up. Even if it's just to get your medical card, right? Maybe, let's say hypothetically, you don't actually really want to buy from me. You just want to get on the medical system so that you can get more plants. I can help you do that too. I'll have to charge you for any type of information I do give you that's not free information that you can't relatively find on the internet. For you to try to get an extended plant count or anything like that, it's pretty hard. But I know how to traverse the system, and I can help you. And I probably used to charge you like $5-10 for like the information, and then you would get your medical card. You would get a medical card with an extended plant count. I mean, you can get up to 99 plants, and 99 pounds on you, right? So that'd be like basically you got a pound from each plant, and then that's there on 4. So, but also another thing we can talk about. Sorry for dazing off. I am high, but I actually just ordered some more fertilizer. So in the last fertilizer video, we got 15 pounds of gypsum, 10 pounds of bone meal, 10 pounds of acid mix, 5 pounds of flaxseed meal, 8 pounds of Karanja cake. I think it was 4 pounds of dried molasses, 4 pounds of azomite, and I think that's it. Oh, and 5 pounds of shrimp shell meal. So that's not bad. That's a pretty good. That was about like 61 pounds. And the topsoil is pretty good, but we need to get a little more fertilizer in there for it to actually be up to commercial planting grade, for me at least. So what we did today or yesterday night was we ordered some more fertilizer. We got another 15 pounds of gypsum, right? So that's going to help loosen our soil up. I got 22 pounds of glacial rock dust from Gaia Green. That's going to help us get some more trace nutrients into our soil. It's going to help us with some calcium, and it's going to help loosen up our soil because that's a lot of fertilizer that's going to break down. 22 pounds is a good amount. So all in all, what I ordered was about 87 pounds of fertilizer for, I think it was $99.20. I got a bag of bone meal, a bag of acid mix. That's going to help our flowering indoors. That's what we'll use to fertilize our indoor plants for flower. And then we're also going to be using our then we also got 3 bags of shrimp shell meal. That was about $19.50 for that. We got 3 bags of soybean meal, which is it's high in nitrogen, has 7% nitrogen, 1% phosphorus, 2% potassium. So that's a pretty good all-purpose fertilizer right there. You add in a little shrimp shell meal. Now you got your calcium, and you're pretty good to go with that. I mean, you could add, then you can start adding in more of your trace nutrients like sulfur, magnesium, iron, stuff like that, zinc, and things like that. That'll help your plant definitely, for sure, to add those things. But you can also just add those things in your compost tea. You don't really need them in your fertilizer regimen because they are trace nutrients. So you do need them a little bit, and you will go deficient if you don't have any in your soil, which will kill your plants eventually, obviously. But if you just keep a little bit in your compost tea, that'll be sufficient enough. You won't need any more. Gimme. Sorry, I don't play baseball. I'm a basketball player. Why'd you leave it over there, you dingleberry? What you want? Go get it. You go get that thing. You go get it again. What? You're not big. But so we got 3 bags of shrimp shell meal, 3 bags of soybean meal, bag of glacial rock dust, 22 pounds, 15 pounds of gypsum, and a bag of bone meal and a bag of acid mix, which will go for our indoors. Once that fertilizer gets here, what I did was I actually mixed a bag of bone meal and a bag of acid mix that I had left over here. And I mixed those two together, and we'll mix some of the soybean meal and some of the shrimp shell meal, and then maybe I don't know, throw a little glacial rock dust in there too, and maybe a cup or so of gypsum, and we should be pretty good. We've already thrown in some dolomite lime into our indoor, or when we go to flower, we'll probably get a bag of that. We'll probably get a bag of worm castings, I would assume, and then a bag of soil acidifier along with our bone meal and acid mix. So the soil acidifier and acid mix will make it lean towards more acidic, which is what we want in flower. The garden lime will add in some calcium and magnesium and also help taste and terpene production. The worm castings are going to give us a little bit of nitrogen, give us some calcium, and that's just going to help us with uptake and just make sure the things break down correctly. And then the bone meal is going to give us all of our phosphorus and the rest of the calcium we'll need. So calcium comes from our acid mix, bone meal, and garden lime. And then soil acidifier adds in all of our sulfur, which help with taste, smell, and things like that. So, and terpene production, right? Which goes along with taste and smell. Now, but that's also a part of like stickiness, right? It'll make the trichomes go up. We'll get stickier, denser buds because of that, because of the magnesium that's in the garden lime. And so you definitely want to add those things in when you go to flower. Those are the 4 boxes I use for flower, right? Soil acidifier, acid mix from down to earth, bone meal from organically done, and then garden lime or dolomite lime. Either one's fine. And then if you're really balling, you can add dried molasses, and that's also going to help your plant, right? That's going to help get sugars into your plants, which can help with taste. It can also help with terpene production. It will also help with bulking your plants up. And then, it's not needed. You can add a little bit of kelp for flower because that's going to give you some more potassium. It'll give you a little bit of nitrogen. So if you want to, add a bag to, like, say if you were doing an outdoor grow and you wanted to make sure you had enough fertilizer to make it through the outdoor grow, what I would do is I'd get, if they're big plants, like how I'm expecting to have, I'd have 2, and this is for the entire flower. So you're going to do 1 top dressing and then basically see how it goes in 2-3 weeks. See, probably like 3 weeks. Around week 3, see if the plants are bulking up, getting to the size you like. If not, then you might want to come back in, hit it with some more bone meal, hit it with more acid mix, hit it with more soil acidifier, garden lime, dried molasses, and some kelp, right? And even worm castings too. And you will get more of a bulk. So what I would do is I do 2 bags of acid mix, 2 bags of bone meal, and then you would do that directly over your plant. In between the plants. So how my raised bed setup is that I'll have 2 plants and there'll be a gap in between them. In this area, I'll fertilize, and then right below the plants, I'll fertilize. So right below the plants are going to get a bag of acid mix and a bag of bone meal each. So 1 bag each. Then in the middle, you're going to want to add in either, that's where you're going to put in your kelp. That's where you're going to put in your dolomite lime. That's where you're going to put in your soil acidifier. That's where you're going to put all the worm castings in. That's where you're going to put the dried molasses at. Actually, as a matter of fact, you can put the dried molasses under the 2 plants. So what you'll do is you'll do 1 bag of acid mix, 1 bag of bone meal, 1 bag of dried molasses under your plants to fertilize them, and then in between your plants, you'll do another bag of molasses, another bag of acid mix, a bag of soil acidifier, a bag of garden lime or dolomite lime, and a bag of kelp meal. That's on the cheaper end. And on the more expensive end, you would do 2 bags of acid mix per plant, 1 bag of bone meal, because it has a lot of phosphorus. You don't want to overdo the phosphorus. And then in the middle, you would do the exact same regimen. You would do 1 box of acid mix, 1 box of soil acidifier, 1 box of kelp, 1 box of garden lime, and then 1 bag of dried molasses. And then add in the worm castings on top of that. Mix that in, give it your flowering compost tea, and you really should be good for the rest of the flower there. If you feel like at week 3 you could get a little more production, they could get bigger, they could be putting on more terpenes, then you can add maybe like another 2 bags of bone meal, so bone meal for each one, and then 1 bag of garden lime per raised bed. And this is a 6x3, so 6 feet across, and it's about 3 feet wide. On like each sides, the corners are 3 feet. The length is 6 feet. So a 3x6 or 6x3, right? So basically, around like week 3, you might come back around with some more bone meal, give it some lagmanite. That's going to give it all the potassium, sulfur, magnesium it's going to need for the rest of the grow, and you'll be straight, right? On the more expensive end, again, and it's 2 bags of acid mix per plant, 1 bag of bone meal per plant, and 1 bag of dried molasses. In the middle, you're going to basically do all that again besides the bone meal. Actually, you can add the bone meal in the middle. You don't have to. That is up to you and what your preference is. I don't. What I'm going to actually end up doing is I'm going to be doing a bag of acid mix, a bag of garden lime, a bag of soil acidifier, a bag of kelp, worm castings, and a bag of lagmanite. A bag of lagmanite will go basically spread out between the 2 plants and in the middle. That should give us enough potassium. That should give us enough phosphorus. That should give us enough nitrogen, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, that we'll need for the entire flower. Those plants should be reeking in terpenes. They should be smelly as hell, sticky as hell, and hopefully get you high as hell. So that's what we're hoping for. So hopefully we get some great old production here out of these plants. Let's finish cleaning this grill, and then we'll go do our stuff on the side. Alrighty, so while we're chilling, I'll talk about how to clean your bong. The best way to clean your bong is using nail polish remover, which is basically going to replace rubbing alcohol. So if you didn't know that, you can use nail polish remover instead of rubbing alcohol. It's basically the same thing. And we're going to use a good smelling degreaser, right? Right? Because you'll do this overnight, and then rinse your bong out in the morning. And you're going to need table salt and Epsom salt. You need both. You can get scented Epsom salt. That's fine. I do that because it smells nice. So normally I get lavender. Or I can get a degreaser in lavender as well too. If I can't find a degreaser in lavender, then I'll do like type of like an orange, like a citrus degreaser, and then I'll do a citrus smelling Epsom salt, which will help keep the bong nice and smelling good. I don't like when the bong stinks really bad. And actually, this bong is filthy, so I actually need to hit the Dollar Tree probably tomorrow and get some stuff to clean the bong and clean not that, but just also I need to clean my sheets, so I got to get some bleach. So I have white sheets. So what I would do is try to get a good smelling degreaser. You can get scented nail polish remover too, I think, but I honestly like the smell of regular nail polish remover, so you just roll with that. Scented Epsom salt, table salt, and you're straight. You don't really need anything else. You could get baking soda. That also helps. Not needed. But you can use that as well too. I actually normally just have baking soda laying around, so I don't have to buy it that much. I don't use a ton of it. But if you do use a ton of it and you don't have any laying around, you can buy it. So what I would do is let's say if you are using the baking soda, you pour in some of the baking soda, get a nice little layer there, pour in your Epsom salt, and then pour in some table salt on top of that. You don't need to fill it up. You just need a good layer of that there on the bottom. Then you're gonna pour your like degreaser in, get it to the point where most of the salt is broken down, and then pour the whole bottle of rubbing alcohol or the whole bottle of nail polish remover. Clog each hole up and shake it as best as you can, and that's gonna get it all mixed up and clean, and that's gonna get most of the like grime and stuff off of the pong. Then what you'll do is after you've done that you're gonna add the rest of the degreaser in, and you're gonna add the rest of the table salt in, and then any more baking soda and Epsom salt that you want. Really, you're gonna add as much. Try to add as much table salt as you can, because what that's gonna do is that overnight, as that breaks down, that salty water, salty degreaser or nail polish remover is just gonna break everything down in this like little chambers part right here that always gets really dirty, and completely make it polished and make it look brand new. You can also leave your bowls and pieces in those parts, and that also helps. Um, that'll get those completely clean by the morning over. Or you just leave them in a little Ziploc bag. And put them in separate Ziploc bags, but like the bowl in one, and then the down stem in the other, and then just let the bong and all those soak overnight. It doesn't even need to be warm water. You can just use cold water. You can just use your hose if you felt like it. Leave that sucker overnight. Night. When you go to rinse it out, pour a little soap in it each time. Right. Right. So put like a little, like just like little quarter of soap at the bottom of Dawn, um, and then that'll be good enough. That'll rinse your whole bong out of any degreaser, nail polish, baking soda, Epsom salt. You don't want any of that in your bong after the fact. So you want to do a really, really good rinse. This will also get rid of anything else that's still stuck to the bong. You can use warm water on that part. That part you can use warm water. Just put it in your sink, put it in your bathtub, and then it won't smell anymore because it's been cleaned. It's just gonna, at that point, just smell like rubbing alcohol, salt, all Epsom salt, and degreaser. Which are all scented, hopefully, so that they smell good. Once you've done that, your bong's gonna be spectacular. It's gonna look brand new. You can take that shit to a girl, go on a date, right? And your bong's gonna smell nice, right? You don't want to show up on the date and then your bong fucking reeks, and the girl's like, "Ew, this dude never cleans his fucking bong," right? That's fucking gross, right? If you clean your bong before you go on a date, she's more likely to smoke weed with you, right? Right, and then bring good weed too. Try to go get some expensive shit, like some really good shit, because that'll be less likely to get her to cough, and she'll get higher, right? And so she will be more likely to smoke more weed with you, and then maybe you can hook up with her. No, I'm just kidding. That's fucked up. But she'll probably relax and hang out with you for more after that, because she'll want to smoke weed with you, and you'll have good weed, so she'll want to hang out with you. If you have shitty weed and a dirty bong, she's not gonna want to hang out with you. It's as simple as that. So we are almost done here with the bongs. I'll probably take like one more rip, and then we're gonna clean the grill. I'll show you how to do that for fun, and then we'll do the rest of the yard. We'll probably get like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour stream. I don't know if I'll go 3. What are you doing, crazy boy? Give me that. You too big. You hurting me already. You too big. Too big. What up, buddy? Buddy. Come on, buddy. You don't gotta stay over there alone. What happened to my buddy? What happened to my buddy? Who hurt buddy? Who hurt buddy? Why are you limping like that, buddy? Boy, you gotta sleep in a room now. You do. Because you get hurt all the time. You do. You get hurt too much. You're my buddy. Buddy's a German Shepherd. He's a good boy. Buddy's a good boy, right, buddy? Buddy. My buddy. Yeah, guys. The video should, probably be like 2.5 hours. I hope. Hope for a 2.5 hour live stream. It should be fun. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I also need to give these dogs a fucking bath. They're starting to shed because it's starting to get warm again, so their winter coats are starting to they're starting to shed their winter coats, and it is showing in my room. I mean, there's fucking a hairball everywhere. It's fucking annoying. Waking up with hair in my nose and shit in this morning, bugging the hell out of me. I'm like, jeez. Good boy, buddy. But yeah, so we'll have to do that. We'll have to get on that for sure. We'll have to we got to hurry up and clean this grill because I have to get over to the side so I can kind of water. Because I might not be able to do that today if I don't do that soon because my dad's going to be outside and he hates when I water. I'm not because of fucking these dumbass water restriction. What we need to do is start desalinating water, which means taking seawater, removing salt from it, and using that for our yards instead of using fresh water for our yards, which doesn't make really any sense. We're having a fresh water crisis in all parts of the world, especially in Africa, South America, Middle East, Asia, right? They're having a water crisis, and we're starting to see that in California now, in America, right? We're having a water crisis, not just seeing it where we have a water crisis in California as well, too, right? It's not just, third world countries, it's first world countries are now that are also dealing with this, right? And that's because people aren't thinking outside of the box. People aren't talking to the right people, right? We need more people who know a lot about plants in our government if we're going to fight climate change. That's really who's going to fight the climate change, is the plants. So how are we going to do that? If we desalinated water and use that for our yards, one desalinated water that still has, like, let's say if we left a little bit of salt in it that was safe for plants, that actually would, one, fertilize our plants in an organic, natural way, right? Like seawater is actually good for your plants, right? It has a lot of trace minerals, hormones that help plants grow, different things like that. Um, so if we just left like a little bit of seawater in the desalinated water, like just desalinated it to a point where it's safe to use for gardening, it would not only water our plants, it would also fertilize our plants. And the ocean is abundant, basically. So you could think of this as like a green energy solution because it would be. You know, this is something that is you know, we're never really going to run out of seawater unless we're dumb, right? Like if we drain the ocean, um, you know, and start watering like like our hills and then surrounding areas, start watering national parks and different things like that, state parks and things like that. It would one start to terraform our planet in a good positive way. Two, it would lower sea levels, which would help combat climate change. And two, it would start to actually cool down our climate because we would have water that we would be getting excess amount of water that we normally would not be getting for at least another 8 years until the drought has actually ended, right? So, for instance, like a lot of people were talking about this winter was really cold. It was freezing, right? Well, it's going to get colder. And the reason for that is because if you actually look at our average temperature right now, we're 4 degrees over what February should have been, what January should have been, right? Right. It's normally like 4 or 5 degrees during the winter that we're warmer, right? So we got about like 4 or 5 more degrees to drop before we're on average for what our place would be. And our average is up higher because obviously of global warming. So really we're going to drop like another 6, 7 degrees before we're at like a safe temperature to combat climate change. So we do need to, on average, drop our temperature about 6 or 7 degrees, which will be a significant amount. You'll feel it. It will definitely get colder. Like not cold like how people were saying there's an ice age and global warming is ended. You know, no. That I mean that's just ridiculous. Yes. First of all, it's pretty dry. It was pretty dry this winter. I mean, people are talking about how much rain we got. We really did not get that much rain. Rain. If you go out into your yard right now in Southern California, it's dry. All that rain that we got, the plants sucked it up and drank it already. So what do you think's up there in the hills? Nothing. It snows normally up on that mountain over by me. It did not snow this year on that mountain. That means to me that mountain's probably going to catch on fire. The only reason why it didn't catch on fire last year was because it snowed. If it doesn't snow on that mountain, there's no way that it can contain that greenness. And it did for most of the summer. And that was because it had snow on it. It got packed. Like it was like really snowy. It was wild actually at one point. I was like, holy shit, that's a ton of snow. Hold on, is my phone gonna die? The hell? Oh no, it's the headphones. Um, so we didn't get any snow this year. Like none. There was a little bit on the mountains behind it, but there was none on the big mountain. So in my opinion, if there's gonna be a fire, it's gonna be this year because that hill is primed and ready to catch on fire because it's already pretty dry in my yard to the point where I actually turned my sprinklers on finally and started watering the yard a little bit. And that was just to be honest with you, just to get things kind of ready. I turned them off again and we're not gonna water again for a few more weeks because we don't really need to. But that was just because I looked at the yard and I was like, it looks dry out here. And I also had cast out a ton of fertilizer too, so I wanted the fertilizer to kind of break down, which will also help the plants not need as much water because that'll also help with root growth. That doesn't just because I'm using a synthetic fertilizer up front does not mean I'm not going to have good root growth. Sometimes you actually might have unnatural root growth in a synthetic fertilizer regimen because again synthetic is a forced nutrient regimen, meaning it's relatively available as soon as it gets wet. But right, if it's not a soluble nutrient, meaning it's not like a powder, if it's like some like salts or like for instance these are like little pellet type things that were like little balls that were like they were basically salts but basically formed into a ball that are slow release technically because it has to get wet for it to release and it won't get all wet at all. It won't get wet all at once, so it'll take some time. But you know, that's about it. So we do use synthetic in the rest of the yard and like the shrubs and trees and different things like that because it's just cheaper to use. It lasts a little bit longer than the organic stuff. So the only thing that I really use organics on is food, vegetables, and weed. That's it. Fruits, vegetables, and weed, and that's it. Anything that else is that's just flowering, just a flower that doesn't do anything else. Yeah, I just use synthetic because with like maybe a little organic if the plant needs it, right? Like if I'm looking and I'm like, man, the synthetic fertilizer not really working that well anymore. I'm not really getting that same bang out of it. Then you might want to start mixing in some organic material back into your soil. The soil probably has just been robbed of the organic material. What does that mean? It means probably going hitting up like either one. You can go to your local um, composting center and get mulch, and that doesn't mean like wood chip mulch, but you can also find that too for sure. Or you can also get like fine like pine needles. It'll have grass clippings in it. It'll have different leaves. It'll have a ton of organic material that'll help fertilize your plants. I would start by getting at, getting a ton of and getting just like some organic fertilizer, and then get your normal synthetic fertilizer too. Or honestly, you can go get like manure instead. That actually scrap that. I'd actually get the manure for like the rest of the yard than getting organic fertilizer because it's just so expensive sometimes to get organic fertilizer. It's kind of a waste to use it in your front yard where it's not going to be noticed as much. So there's no reason to do that. So what I would do personally is go ahead and get like a bag of manure for each plant that you're trying to reamend, and then just work that into the topsoil surrounding it. um, Hit it with some of that um, mulch that you got from the composting center that would have will have one wood chips. It would have uh, twigs. It'll have leaves. It'll have grass clippings. Things. It'll have all types of stuff in it that'll help break down and just make your soil better. That'll help upgrade your soil over time, along with the bag of manure that you're going to work into the surrounding area around that plant. That's going to give it a ton of nitrogen, and adding in all the mulch material will give it nitrogen, carbon, different things like that, calcium, and then you can come around with like your decorative mulch, right? Like your like dyed wood chip mulch, and then drop that all over the yard. You stinky boy. What are you doing? Hmm? You tell him I'm big and stinky. You bite on me big. You big. You stinky boy. You stinky boy. You eating dinners. Good boy. Good boy, buddy. Good boy too, big boy. Good boy. Stinky. Get out of here, dog. You stinky. And that would be great fertilizer over time, right? Right. So once all like the natural mulch breaks down, then the wood chip mulch will start breaking down too at that point, right? And that'll also make your soil better, right? And so you don't really, and that'll be cheap. Like bag of manure is like $1. It's like basically $2 after taxes. So I mean that's basically nothing. You're gonna get 2 cubic feet of soil for $2, right? That's a cubic feet per dollar, right? So that's really good. That's pretty good. Good. It's hard to beat, to be honest with you. So I would definitely use that, and then then after put the mulch down, both layers of mulch, throw your normal synthetic fertilizer on top of that. That not too much because you don't want to burn the plants. That'll be a lot of fertilizer at once. Once you just put a little bit down, like a handful, and then you'll be straight. You'll have an amazing front yard. You'll have an amazing grass layer, right? Right. So like if you were to like try to redo your grass, and I'd like to actually do that at some point here, like do it from scratch and have like a whole new grass setup, which would be kind of lit. Yeah. Um, um, the first thing I would do is one, remove the turf. Whatever you have there, get that out. Once you've gotten that out, then you need to add in 2 layers. You need to add in your drainage layer, and you need to add in your soil growing medium layer. You can either use topsoil. Personally, what I would use is manure. I would use a mixture of manure and play sand. Play sand being for drainage, manure being for the actual growing medium. What I would do is first I would lay out an entire layer covering the entire area that you're going to grow grass in with manure. There. Then I'd come around and drop your play sand in all the strategic areas, and then rake that out. Drop more bags of manure all around, rake that on top of that, and then try to mix it in, right? right? So there's not like a layer of sand and then a layer of manure and then or a layer of manure, layer of sand, and then a layer of manure. Try to mix those three layers together by raking it in, and it'll look like a sandy, clayey manure or sandy, manure soil, which will be great for growing grass in, right? Right. Then you can come around, and at this point, this would be a great point to add in like an organic fertilizer like humic acid, right? Humic acid would be a great way of getting a lot of uptake out of your grass without having to fertilize it a ton. So I would add like 200, depending on how big your yard is. So for my front yard, I definitely be using like maybe 15 or 15, probably like 200 to about 150 pounds. So that'd be about like 4 3 bags of 50 pound bags of humic acid, which should honestly run you about $200, which isn't really too bad to fertilize your whole entire front yard for the foreseeable future. I wouldn't really need to add anything else other than the normal synthetic fertilizer. And then, when you cut your grass, you can leave the grass cuttings on top, and that'll also fertilize your plants for the future. So now you're not having to use as much of that synthetic fertilizer, which again, also, I would stick away from like harsh chemical synthetic fertilizers and just try to use something that's a little more like still synthetic, still is a chemical based fertilizer, but something not as nasty as some of these like Roundup or Scott's fertilizers for grass. I haven't. It's by Lily's. It's in a white and blue bag, so it's mostly white. And then in the frames on the back and in the front, it's blue. So it'll say up here we'll have all purpose, 16% nitrogen, 16% phosphorus, 16% potassium, with also 5% sulfur. On the back of the bag, it'll say 5% sulfur. Or that's all your plant will need, all the grass will need. You can also add in some calcium. Shut up, fool. My bad, guys. Sorry. So I walked away. They normally have a stream gets ruined as well, but um, I'm gonna finish cleaning this grill. I'm almost done cleaning it, so and then we can finish the stream. So give me a few minutes.
yours. Big boy, it's not yours. Okay, buddy? Be careful.
Alrighty, guys. So back finally. I know. I guess it will be a 3-hour stream. Starting the fire for the barbecue, and then we'll go to the side and finish the cider. Alrighty. So I'll show you how I set up my coals. That's always fun. I like to stack them up pretty well. Make sure they're pretty even. Everything's kind of next to something else, so it stays pretty hot. So mostly normally under this one is going to be kind of combined between these ones and this grill. Just use regular lighter, charcoal lighter, not special. Watch out! Move. Alright. Let's shoot the rest. So why not? Set you down really quick. Light, and then we'll show you how we light this fire. Goddamn. Man, fucking filthy because of this goddamn grill. I hate grills. Oh, you're dirty. As soon as you're done, you should soak them in degreaser, to be honest with you, so they don't get filthy. But fuck it. It's my Jordans. Alrighty. So just come in, get this side going. This little sucker right here. There and there. And that should be good. That'll start up real quick. Hold on. This side. Alrighty. Grill's nice and lit. Coal should be hot in a few seconds. Got them nice and stacked up as well. We got like 4 layers, it looks like almost. That'll get really nice. It'll get the grill really nice and hot and warm. You see how it's shooting right through. Ooh, we'll actually get like a nice, like fat layer all the way back up in here, through here, down there. All that will be just encompassed in the fire in a few seconds. As soon as that starts to kind of light up, I don't know if a lot of gas got over there or not. Just kind of sad. Let's see if we have any more lighter fluid. It's not really moving back there. I can try to light it. Moving back there. I mean, we'll just give it a few minutes. It should, once the shit gets hot enough, because it's lit right here, it should spread. But I don't know. so I dropped a little more lighter fluid. Hopefully it should light. There we go. I'll be back. I gotta get lighter fluid.
Hey, does that have more lighter fluid? Thank you.
Alright, so my mom's giving me more lighter. So that's good, so we'll get this going. It's not lighted quite yet because it's still kind of wet on the bottom, so I think that's kind of putting out the fire a little bit. So we gotta get it a little hotter. 1 second.
That wasn't enough. This one definitely be enough.
Oh, so don't catch the fire. Get overheated. Yeah. So it's roaring. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. That should be good. Just want to make sure it burns actually evenly. Oh, you bet we should be straight. I'll get you more water, big boy. Don't worry. I'll get you more water right now. How's he gonna start fire over here in this fucking little fire pit we got right here? So we can stay kind of nice and warm for us while we're chilling outdoors. So I'll go do that. Flip this cami. I'll be back.
Sorry.
Alrighty then. Get this sucker lighted really quick. Got a little fire. Now we'll be nice and warm. I did a tiny one. Hey! Buddy, get out of here, buddy. Leave Buddy alone. Alrighty. Alrighty, guys. So I'm not gonna end the stream. I'm gonna still show off some of the other stuff that I was talking about. But, so we'll probably push the stream on for long, but. Right there, drill like a little hole, like the size of a quarter. Some more airflow coming this way, and there's fire seat even fucking lit. This shit would be awesome. That's a floor one. Sorry, I'm just fucking with the fire for the barbecue, trying to make sure it ignites correctly. I'm gonna try to push some of these coals over, try to get more airflow, and spread the fire out. So that's really good too. Stacked it a little too high, can't get enough airflow into the middle. Take some of these hot coals while they're hot. Put these suckers over to the side. I got a lot more even of a fire. There we go. Now the fire looks a lot better. It's a lot more even. Pull this back over. You bitch too. Don't go back there. It's hot. Dude, get away from there. It's hot. I want you to get hard. Get hard. Hard. Don't you come here. Do me. You're a baby. You're a baby. Go in that pool. Stop being a baby. You're a baby. You know you are. You're ugly. Sorry. Buddy, what happened? Right here, huh? Right there. You leave. You're having a lot smaller than the other one. You gotta get some muscle. You gotta do some running. Go away, go away. Go. Buddy, move. Don't hurt each other. You're good boys. There's no reason to hurt each other. No reason. There's no reason. No reason. Alright, you added a couple more coals to the middle. And then I think we can go over there to the side. Show off that. Let's just smoke really quick. And then head on over to the side yard. Everything should be good too. To the second right. I smack that right where I wanted him. Yeah, grocery could be perfect. I'm probably just gonna close the grill. Kind of let it smoke for a bit so we don't run out of fire before everything's seasoned. Damn, I like 400, still moving up slow though, starting to stop like around 420. Yeah, we're about 420 degrees. That's fucked up. That's so funny. Look, 420 on the dot too. That's crazy. Everything's ready. Have a log in there.
Yeah, oh, one of the regular logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Do a couple core coals on top
Where's
of
the
it.
other? Where's the other one?
What other one? The fourth one broke a long time ago. Remember? There's just two. The two. There was three
I
of them.
bought some of these.
I know there was three of them, and the fourth, meaning the third of this one, I broke that one like last summer. So we just have these three, but these three work perfect, and then we still have the top grill, and then I still owe you money for that one that I broke too. But everything is ready. I'll move all the toys and get my shoes out of the way so you don't trip. Don't touch my shoe. Ooh. Oops, sorry, buddy. There you go, man. Buddy! I keep hearing this fucking ringtone. Somebody's calling somebody or something. Weird. All right, let's hurry up and get over to the side because we only got 18%. And once my phone gets low, I'm gonna end the stream and then throw it on the charger. Like I said today, the Poochie's papaya did get overwatered. It actually didn't. It got watered correctly, but it got too cold in the tent. That's what ended up fucking it up. Um, but we gotta get over to the side. The Poochie's papaya, hopefully we can save it. We are in the process of trying to save it. It does not look well. There is a second one that did turn purple, so it's a purple Poochie's papaya. It also smells the same as the other one, but the other one was starting to throw citrus terpenes and starting to get really strong, so kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I see you. Go away. Yeah, 1 second. Buddy, go away. I'll put it away.
Ridiculous. You know what? We don't want that to happen. Watch the food so I can get some spray to put some grease to put on the
Buddy. Buddy.
oh, what the fuck is that?
So we're hopefully gonna save. Hopefully we save the Poochie's papaya. If not, there's a backup. So hopefully, guys, hopefully we get some good protection next year. Sorry, I was talking to myself a little bit there, but just thinking about next year. Damn, that fucking wood shit stinks. Damn, that stinks. I'm moving. I'm gonna move all this shit to the side. Start over there. I can grab my weed and my cookies.
You need a fork?
You want me to cook it?
Huh?
You want me to cook it?
You're out here, so I just.
Oh, I was gonna go over to the side, start doing my stuff on the side, and let you. I thought you wanted. I didn't know. Yeah, if you want me to, or I can go on the side and just finish stuff up over there.
Huh?
You can do it, or I can go over on the side and finish up what I have to while it's still daylight.
I got it.
Okay. Alrighty, guys, I'm gonna end this. It's 3 hours. Honestly, I gotta finish up the side a little bit more before if I want to show it off. So I'll be back again. Maybe tomorrow I'll do a live stream. So check it out if I do. Sorry, my hair is all crazy. Check it out if I do. If I don't, I will do one this week for sure, somewhere around like Tuesday or Wednesday if I don't. But I might try to do a couple more this week because I should have some stuff to show off coming. Hopefully, honestly, if they get it out quick enough, it's supposed to be like 3 days, I think it was, 2 to 3 days for it to ship from the place I got it from. So I ordered it yesterday. They get in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Hopefully it ships. If not, Thursday it will ship, and then I'll probably get it Saturday maybe. Depending, Saturday, Monday, something like that. Tuesday at the latest, which would suck, but whatever. I got it for free shipping, so I can't really complain, and I don't need it right now, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, 87 pounds of fertilizer will be coming in either late this week or early next week. 22 pounds of glacial rock ducks, 15 pounds of gypsum, 15 pounds of shrimp shell meal, 15 pounds of soybean meal, and a bag of acid mix and a bag of bone meal. So we will have all the fertilizer we will need for flour. We will have all the fertilizer we'll need here for veg, and we should be pretty straight here, guys. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you on the next one.